Swami Vivekananda. Alright, so he talked about that there's a problem also in Hinduism, and we have to revive the Vedantic philosophy, Vedantic practices of Hinduism again in India. Now that what actually was his approach towards religion. This was the biggest contribution of Swami Vivekananda also in India. Now in this context only we have to understand these people's contributions. Then finally what we notice that in 1897 when Ramakrishna Mission was founded, it continued till India, till today in India, and after that the next contribution was of Swami Dayanand Saraswati. So Swami Dayanand Saraswati in 1875 he established Arya Samaj. Now Arya Samaj was established by Swami Dayanand Saraswati to reform the Hindu religion. Alright, to reform the Hindu religion across India, and the most important point was that he was critical. He was critical to the priestly class domination over Hindu religion. Okay? He was critical to the priestly class domination of the Hindu religion, and what he talked about that the post-Vedic practices, they maligned Hindu religion. So Hindu religion till Vedic practices, the Vedic era, was pure. Therefore, what he talked about that Vedas are infallible documents. Vedas are infallible documents. That what actually was his idea. Therefore, he talked about go back to Vedas. So go back to Vedas, because again, the writings of Vedas are basically the words of God. So Vedic writings are the words of God, and they are the pillar of all knowledge across the world. This what actually was the idea of Dayanand Saraswati. Fine. So Swami Dayanand Saraswati started talking about these lines, but at the same time what we have to understand, when you talk about that something that is infallible, you cannot challenge that. It means you are also talking about that you are not giving any scope to reasons or logic in questioning any practice. Now you have to understand, here there was a certain difference in his approach. So Swami Dayanand Saraswati did talk about that Vedas are infallible, but at the same time, he also was a person who talked about that we have to apply our reasons, logic, also to understand the rituals and the practices of the Vedas. So indirectly, his approach was rational, interpretation to Vedas was rational, and reasons became a decisive factor in his approach altogether in India. Now, in this context only, what you have to understand, Swami Dayanand Saraswati also was a person who was a votary of studying the Western sciences in India. Votary of studying of Western sciences in India. It doesn't mean that he was having an inward looking approach. No, he was also a person of outward looking approach. ठीक है? तो वेस्टर्न साइंसेस के बारे में भी उन्होंने काफी चर्चा की, और साथ साथ उन्होंने ये भी कहा कि आइडोलेट्री का जो प्रैक्टिस है, मूर्ति पूजा का जो प्रैक्टिस है, जो प्रीस्टहुड का कंट्रोल है हिंदुइज्म पे, जो कास्टिज्म है हिंदुइज्म में, वो सब को सब हमें हटाना है, रिफॉर्म करना है. Alright, so he was talking at one hand reform the religion, at the same hand or second hand you can say, he was also talking about go back to Vedas, or revivalist approach was also there in his approach. Alright, this is how he actually carried forward both the things together, and in this context only he is said to have been influenced by the Brahma Samaj and Prarthana Samaj. The Brahma Samaj and Prarthana Samaj like conducting Sunday meetings among the followers. संडे को मीटिंग्स होती थी ब्रह्म समाज में भी और प्रार्थना समाज में भी, और आर्य समाज में भी इन्होंने इसको प्रैक्टिस करना शुरू कर दिया. ठीक है, और इन्हीं के लाइन्स पे इनके जो साथी थे जैसे लाला हंसराज, ठीक है, स्वामी श्रद्धानंद, उन लोगों ने भी स्कूल्स कॉलेजेस काफी खोले. ठीक है, खासकर लाला हंसराज, he played a really role in opening lot of schools and colleges. For example, हंसराज कॉलेज in Delhi University. ठीक है, श्रद्धानंद कॉलेज, ठीक है, नाम सुना होगा. सो स्वामी श्रद्धानंद ने गुरुकुल भी खोला हरिद्वार में, ठीक है, 1902 में. उसके साथ साथ इन लोगों ने बहुत सारे सोशल रिफॉर्म्स को लीड किया, वुमेन के ऊपर, एजुकेशन के ऊपर, अनटचेबिलिटी के ऊपर, कास्ट सिस्टम के ऊपर इन्होंने अटैक किया. ऑलराइट, स्वामी दयानंद सरस्वती also attacked all these things, but top of that he also spoke about self respect and self reliance. अब self reliance आज के डेट में it has become a controversial issue. प्राइम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी ने इसको कह दिया है मीडिया के सामने और ओपनली पब्लिक को कि आप सेल्फ रिलायंट होइए, तो लोगों ने अपने अपने ढंग से इसको इंटरप्रेट करना शुरू कर दिया. खैर, सेल्फ रिलायंस के बारे में स्वामी दयानंद सरस्वती जो आर्य समाजिस्ट थे, जो आर्य समाज के फाउंडर थे, उन्होंने पहली बार इस बात को आगे बढ़ाया. ऑलराइट, सो सेल्फ रिलायंस वाज आल्सो टॉक्ड अबाउट बाय Swami Dayanand Saraswati, and of course through this only he wanted to promote nationalism in India. So feeling of nationalism was also promoted by Swami Dayanand Saraswati through Arya Samaj, and he also started promoting the conversion of the people back into Hinduism. So conversion of the other non-Hindu people into Hinduism, and prevented Hindus to get converted into any other religion, either Islam or Christianity. Alright, so this conversion became another issue for Arya Samajist people, and therefore NCRT writes it also helped later on in the growth of communalism in India in the early 20th century. ठीक है, so communalism का जो growth हुआ उसमें इसका भी एक factor, इसका contribution रहा है इंडिया के अंदर. खैर, इसके बारे में आगे भी चर्चा करेंगे. So this is how the things were actually organized at that point of time. Fine. Now the last 2 points are basically on Theosophical Society. You see, Theosophical Society was also a revivalist movement. Now see, Theosophical Society was founded initially in America by Colonel Olcott and Madame Blavatsky. So Olcott and Blavatsky, they founded the Theosophical Society in 1866. So in 1866, Theosophical Society was founded in America, and of course from there only one of the branches of the society was opened in Adyar, A-D-Y-A-R, Adyar in Madras. तो उनका एक ब्रांच थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी का अदियार में मद्रास में खुला. ठीक है, और 1893 में, मतलब 1893, so in 1893 Madam Annie Besant, so she came down to India. Alright, so Annie Besant from Ireland, she came down to India, and she participated, or she actually started running the Theosophical Society in India. Alright, so Annie Besant joined Theosophical Society in 1893 in India, and therefore it became popular in South India particularly. Fine. Now see, the major contribution of Theosophical Society was what? That it actually talked about the revival of the 3 religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, and Zoroastrianism. So revival of the 3 religions with the reforms in these 3 religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, and Zoroastrianism. And Theosophical Society therefore also believed in the transmigration of soul. Alright, so in transmigration of soul, the society used to believe. ठीक है, तो सवाल आपसे प्रीलिम्स से पूछा जा सकता है ये कि किन किन धर्मों के लिए थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी ने रिफॉर्म्स की बात की और इन्होंने रिवाइवल की और स्ट्रेंथनिंग ऑफ दीज 3 रिलीजन्स की बात की. तो 3 धर्म के नाम आप याद रखेंगे, HBZ, दैट इज हिंदुइज्म, बुद्धिज्म एंड जोरास्ट्रियनिज्म. ठीक है, जो पारसी लोग फॉलो करते हैं. सो इन 3 रिलीजन में इन्होंने बात की. सबसे बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन इस सोसाइटी का यही था कि पहली बार कोई फॉरेनर ने हिंदुइज्म के ऊपर रिफॉर्म्स की बात की. पहली बार कोई फॉरेनर ने हिंदुइज्म में कॉन्फिडेंस जगाया और कॉन्फिडेंस दिखाया. ठीक है, इससे जो लोकल ऑर्थोडॉक्स हिंदूज थे उनको काफी ज्यादा इससे उनका कॉन्फिडेंस बूज आउट हुआ. ऑलराइट, सो दे एक्चुअली gained a height of confidence because of this particular idea, but at the same time they were carrying the false idea of glorifying their past, which were also full of lot of social evils. All right, so this what actually was their contribution. But Annie Besant's contribution we will see later on also, but here the one most important contribution of Annie Besant in social reform movement was in the field of education. in the field of education, the Central Hindu School in Banaras. Central Hindu School in Banaras was opened by N.E. Besant, which was later on developed by Madan Mohan Malviya into Banaras Hindu University in 1916. Alright, so in 1916, BHU was finally founded by Madan Mohan Malviya on the same precincts, on the same background of Central Hindu School, which was initially laid down by N.E. Besant. ठीक है, इस तरीके से थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी का कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस भी दिया हुआ है एनसीईआरटी में. Last segment is the beginning of Aligarh School under the leadership of Sir Syed Ahmed Khan. Now see, Sir Syed Ahmed Khan is one among the first scientific liberal Muslims in India. Now see, after 1857 only, the reforms in Muslims started, or Islam started in fact in that way. And in 1863, Sir Syed Ahmed Khan, he opened Mohammedan Literary Society in Calcutta. And in this society, even the Hindus were also member of the society. In fact, one of his very dear students was also Hindu. So this what actually was the contribution of Mohammedan Literary Society, which talked about the modernization of the Muslim population, especially the upper and middle class Muslims. So for the upper and middle class Muslims, he talked about the significance of Western scientific education. Alright, so Western scientific education was actually promoted by him, and he was a person who also interpreted that Quran should be only the legal interpreter of Islam. The rest of the books, rest of the interpretations are all subsidiary. Alright, this is how actually he talked about the significance of Islam in that way. So therefore, the idea is that he was a person who also wanted to bring reform in Islamic practices, because he once remarked very nicely कि अगर धर्म change नहीं होगा, if the religion did not change with time, it would become fossilized. It would become fossilized. If religion did not change with time, it would become fossilized. That was his biggest statement at that point of time. Alright. So of course he actually warned the Islamic, the preachers, or you can say followers, to not to fall a prey under the fundamentalism or fanatic you can say interpreters of Islam, or narrow-minded interpreters of Islam. And this is how he also introduced the reforms in Islam. Fine, and that's what actually he was said to be the first Islamic preacher, the first Islamic reformer who spoke about the significance of Western scientific education to the Muslim population. Alright, this what actually was talked about by him. And in this context only, in 1875, he set up Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College. Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College in 1875 was set up by Sir Syed Ahmed Khan in Aligarh, or at Aligarh. So this became later on to change into Aligarh Muslim University. And Aligarh Muslim University was founded by him in the form of the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College, and this college was founded to preach, again I'm repeating, to preach Western sciences and the modern culture. That was actually the objective of forming the so-called the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College, which today has become the Aligarh Muslim University, AMU. Fine. This what actually was his idea behind all these things. Fine. So in this context, he was critical to the Islamic practices. Sir Syed Ahmed Khan ने क्रिटिसाइज किया बहुत से इस्लामिक प्रैक्टिसेस के, जैसे कि वेमेन की स्टेटस के बारे में, वेमेन के एजुकेशन के बारे में, कि इस्लाम में वेमेन का स्टेटस दूसरा दर्जा का दिया गया हुआ है, उनके स्टेटस को काफ़ी डिग्रेड किया गया हुआ है. पर्दा सिस्टम को क्रिटिसाइज किया इन्होंने. सैयद अहमद खान क्रिटिसाइज पर्दा सिस्टम, कि पर्दा सिस्टम अगेन वुमेन को डिग्रेड करने के लिए बनाया गया है. थर्डली ही ऑल्सो क्रिटिसाइज्ड polygamy. Polygamy is quite popular in Islam. Alright, so he criticized polygamy. Polygamy should not be allowed. And at the same time, he is also critical to the practice of easy divorce, जिसको हम जानते हैं ट्रिपल तलाक के रूप में। तो ट्रिपल तलाक के खिलाफ थे सर सैयद अहमद खान। Now you can understand today if someone who belongs to the radical or orthodox Islamic, you can say, culture, he will be critical to the government policies today. Alright, the government should not intervene into this particular practice. But understand, in 1870s, a person like Sir Syed Ahmed Khan was talking about the evil practices of easy divorce. Now, since 1817 till 2000, you can say 20 or 19, this practice was going on in India. So obviously it had to be abolished through legal measures only, because we have also seen the same legal measures were used against the Hindu practices like abolition of sati, Widow Marriage Act, etc. So why not in other religions? That's what actually was the basic, we can say, justification to understand that. Fine. Can इसके बारे में debate और आगे करेंगे. Now, under this context only, Muhammad Iqbal has also been discussed, but idea is Sir Syed Ahmed Khan is said to have become slightly skeptical towards the Hindu domination towards in the later phase of his life. So Hindu domination in the later phase of his life, he became skeptical. However, he was not a communalist or communal man in that way, but he was moderate communal in terms of preserving the interest of Islamic followers. Alright, and finally what we see, Muhammad Iqbal, he encouraged separation later on in terms of having two nation theory. Alright, so this is how the Harigal school has been discussed. Similarly, Deoband school was also there in the form of a revivalist movement. Okay? So Deoband school was formed by Nana Tovi and Gangohi. So Nana Tovi and Gangohi के द्वारा देवबंद स्कूल को फॉर्म किया गया था in the 19th century, and this school was also a revivalist school. So it wanted to revive the best practices of Sunni Islam, and therefore it was also in favor of bringing the modern education in Islam. And this particular Deoband school largely it remained in favor of having a unity among Hindu and Muslim in India. So unity among Hindu and Muslim was favored by Deoband school, and it was also critical to the partition of India. It was critical to partition of India, and it was critical to Muslim League also. But some of the Deobandis, they also bifurcated towards the end of 1940s, towards the beginning of 1940s. In fact, in the beginning of 1940s, they got bifurcated, and they also became a part of the Muslim League of Jeddah. Alright, so we'll talk about that also later on in the context of the India's freedom and partition. Okay. So Deobandi was, of course, a reformist and as well as a revivalist of Islamic religion in India. Fine. Last one was the Parsis. Now Parsis were also a reformist and Rehnumai Majasdian Sabha. So Rehnumai Majasdian Sabha was formed by the three scholars, or three, you can say, reformers. The scholars were, or reformers were, Naroji Fardonji, Dadabhai Naroji, and S.S. Bengali. So Naroji Fardonji, Dadabhai Naroji, and S.S. Bengali, they also promoted the socio-religious reform movement among the Parsi community. And let me tell you, Parsi community became the most modernized or westernized section of Indian society after this reform. Fine. This is how the reforms have been discussed largely in your NCERT on the socio-religious reform movements. Fine. The only thing that we have to understand that socio-religious reform movement were having a mixed bag of results for India. Of course, it led down the path for India's modernization, but at the same time, it also promoted some of the other way through the revivalist movement, promoted the spirit of communalism in India, whether you take in the context of Islam or take in the context of even Hinduism. This is how we have to analyze the contributions of socialist reform movement for India's, of course, freedom struggle. All right. So this is what actually we will sum up the entire aspects of socialist reform movement. We are not taking up the Sikh reform movement right now because it's not given, though they are also in NCERT. We'll take up in some other lecture. Alright. So largely we have to understand that these all aspects were there as a part of the socio-religious reform movements in India. Fine. So I'm summing up this video now, and in the next video I'll start with the formation of course, Congress and its background, all right, and the freedom struggle altogether. Fine. So we will take up the background of formation of Congress and the freedom struggle now. Fine. See you in the next video. Till that, see you. Take care. Goodbye. Okay.